So, hello everybody, good morning, and welcome to this first of two talks, two panels about DMOcracy. It's going to be two panels about how to actively involve communities and residents in tourism governance and in the visitor economy. The first one is going to be like a TED-like session. And we are going to have on stage Rosa Bada, Turismo de Barcelona, Katharina Ries from the Vienna Tourist Board, Susanna Bernstein from Visit Berlin, and Csaba Feix from Budapest brand. So 4 major European capitals telling us their experiences with citizens' involvement in the visitor economy. It's a huge and major issue for all cities in Europe these days. The idea of DMOcracy stems from theoretical discussion in Europe. It has been around for a few years now, and it relates with the idea of actively involving people, residents, communities, boroughs, in the life of the visitor economy. And it can come in many shapes, actually. It can be involving residents in the decision-making process with councils and the like. And we are going to hear about this with, for example, Berlin and Barcelona today. It can involve engaging with citizens in terms of place-making activities. And we are going to hear about this with Vienna today. With Budapest, we are going to have an experience, a wonderful experience called Budapest Tuning about sharing and sharing events with boroughs. Also, DMOcracy can take the shape of sharing resources with local communities. So again, there are many shapes the approach can take. And since the debate in our country about this issue is so important but so underdeveloped, we are more than honored to have these 4 European capitals of tourism on stage today. So thank you all for being here, and please, Katharina, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here, so thank you very much, BTO, for the invitation to speak to all of you. I think this is better now. Well, travel is all about expectation, we think, expectation and surprises. And sometimes those two match and sometimes they don't, but people play a huge part in experiencing a destination. So many of you will, think this is how travel looks like, or this is how Vienna looks like, but traveling can also look like this. And yes, it's raining, as it is today in Firenze as well. And tourism and a city like Vienna can also look like this. So we believe very much in the power of transformative travel. So the concept of transformative travel is that you go to a place and you experience it and it does something with you and it changes your perception on the world, on the destination and on the people that you meet.
In this episode, we're heading back off the beaten track. From busy markets,
everything you need for a nice breakfast or a nice feast,
to hidden courtyards.
You can get everything you want, like a Nahversorger.
Let's take a glimpse at local life.
Attraverso, Grätzl. Try again.
Grätzl.
So just in case the volume was not loud enough, basically what they were speaking about was a concept which is called Grätzl, or a term that is called Grätzl, which is a very Viennese word for neighborhood. What we do in Vienna is all our activities are based on our visitor economy strategy, shaping Vienna. And the key question that we always ask ourselves when we look at how to schedule or plan our destination marketing and management activities is not only what we can do for tourism and for the guests that come, but what tourism adds to the city life and the city itself. So basically what the key strategic communication approach that we have, that every year we develop a strategic theme for the year. So the strategic theme for the year helps us to align the whole destination against the concept. So I put some examples up. Those could be anniversaries of people that are ambassadors of the city, that are intrinsic to the city, but also sometimes we take authentic experience, such as Heartbeat Streets, a story about our neighborhoods, such as in 2024. So 2024, our strategic theme of the year was Heartbeat Streets, fall in love with Vienna's neighborhoods. So here we try to, both from a destination marketing perspective and a destination management perspective, to combine the two. Basically, this is a mix of saying, yes, we want to talk about the city of Vienna in a way that feels authentic, that feels different, that speaks to a certain target audience that wants to experience the city in an authentic way, but at the same time, from a destination management perspective, talk to the stakeholders in the city about their neighborhoods, about their Grätzl, what we can offer there. So for those familiar with Vienna, the inner city is very much, that's the empty white spot. So the inner city we're not talking about, but we're actively sending guests to Grätzl, to neighborhoods all around the city to explore. And if you know Vienna, you know that it's not far away, so you can explore a Grätzl outside of the first district in 5 to 10 minutes by public transport or even by walking. So it's very accessible. And we also made sure that each of the Grätzl, they stand for something. All of them have in common a certain cultural aspect, because we focus on culture as a key driver for Vienna, but also from a culinary perspective, everyone wants to eat and interact with other people that are in the same place to eat. It has to be livable, so there has to be life on the streets, and obviously a sustainable aspect we always try to include in our communication. So how do we do that? And that's something that I'm happy to speak to either of you afterwards, or would like to invite you to follow our channels. We're putting all our destination marketing efforts in this year on this topic, meaning our website, our campaigns, also our Ivy, which is our city app, where we have every year 500,000 active users, so over 1 million downloads. Where we have guided walks where you can explore all the Grätzls and all the neighborhoods. And this is a key element for us to really make sure that both we manage the flows within the city and we allow for the interaction between the guests and the locals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are gonna now have Rosa Bada from Tourism de Barcelona. Please, Rosa, the stage is yours.
Hi, hello to everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for thinking you can learn or share some interesting things with us. And nice to meet you. My name is Rosa Bada. I'm the Director of City and Tourism in Barcelona Turisme. Barcelona Turisme is the DMO, the promotion, the tourism promotion body of the city. And my role is more about city than about tourism. And I think this is important. It's a change of our perspective. We have been working with a lot of success in Barcelona for 30 years. We are an amazing city. I hope some of you know it, and if not, feel very welcome. But to be attractive is not for free. And we have been focused very much in attracting people and attracting events. And maybe we realized some years ago that maybe we have forget a little bit what happens when the city is an attractive place at international level. And our citizens ask us about that. And we had, 10 years ago, we had a big public debate about if tourism is positive or not for the city. And then we thought, okay, we have to to face it, because our citizens are asking us to do something to decrease the negative impacts that our wonderful industry and the wonderful activity of traveling has in a community. Then we began to establish some measures of governance and management of tourism. And the DMO, Barcelona Turisme, began to have a reflection about our role as a tool of management, not only as a tool of promotion, and how the promotion could help to manage the city. And then, in terms, well, we began to, some of our measures, that we had a hotel ban, we had a lot of regulation, tourism taxes, different. We established, and we are establishing, different measures. But one important question was governance, and how to include all this debate that residents are asking us to develop, how introduce it in the governance of tourism. And then we established the Tourism Council. This is, well, and what I'm going to explain or to share with you is the why and how we work and what is it. Okay, we realized tourism was not a debate only between business and government, and we had to include community in the debate. And then we established an official body at the municipality that is a participatory body where the city is sit. We have a lot of this kind of participatory bodies in the municipality. Some are 30 years old. We have participatory bodies in youth policies, in government policies, in housing policies, in traffic policies, but not in tourism until 8 years ago. This was also an indicator for us, was that the city council has not been realizing that this was needed until we had the question at the street. If you remember, well, I don't know if you remember, but I remember 2015 in Spain, it was an important movement at the street. The social movements were really in the street. 15M was this year. I mean, the left parties began to arrive to different governments, and was a very bubble moment. Sorry. And then we create this new table. Who are sit on the table? We are around 60 persons representing associations. We don't have business on the table. We have the association business, for example. And who is there? Of course, some people you can imagine, like the Hoteliers Association or travel agencies or guides. But also, we include the trade unions and also the neighborhood associations. And there are the neighborhoods much more impacted by tourism. The center of the city, Sagrada Familia neighborhood, well, this Barceloneta, these that are living the real impact. But also we have cultural associations, social associations, all the political parties in the municipality, the government and the opposition, technicians, experts, that helps us very much to handle the debates, because they are not like too much passionate like the others, because we are talking about a feeling, a sentimental question. It's not only about data, it's not only about numbers, it's about the feeling of the city, of the citizens, the feeling they have to the city, of the city. What we do, we have two officials moments, the plenary sessions where we all are sit, and there is like a theater, because then you have all the government, all these people, and I mean everyone is very very like active on their speeches. And then we have a steering committee that is also it's a smaller representation of all these people that try to lead the life of the council. And then we have, for me, the real life of the council, that are the working groups and the presentations and visits we do. We decide a working plan. We decide among all the different issues we want to talk. We try to connect the council with the important questions of the city, Copa Americans Cup, or the airport transformation. We go there, we have visits, the experts or people in charge explain us the questions, trying to share opinions and trying to really offer real knowledge of the questions to the people involved in the council. What we have done with among these years, lot of activity. Having activity doesn't mean directly having results, but if you don't have activity, you will not have results. This is, for me, this is important. And all these meetings have involved a lot of people, and some of them are really the leaders of their sectors. And little by little, maybe they don't change their opinions, but we train ourselves on the conversation. Now. And, well, for me, the most important is include the community in this public-private management and governance of the tourism questions. We need to have a real conversation and a continuous conversation, because the reality is changed so fast, and because we are talking about the real life of the city. Vienna explained us that they are a very livable city, and we all have Vienna in our admiration and in our inspiration. But Barcelona is a Mediterranean city with a lot of problems, with social problems, with environmental problems. We have a housing issue that is important, and all that aspects of the city are affected in positive and in negative by tourism, and we have to deal with that. For me, well, for sharing a little bit more with you. Noise versus conversation. I don't know how are you on your destinations, but I can imagine that there are some media talking about tourism, some associations talking about tourism in a positive or a negative way, and we try to order a little bit this debate to a more deeper conversation, looking for consensus. This is not the solution, of course. We have a council, but we're still having problems. And it's because we are a real city and also a destination, but we can't forget that we are a city. One important thing is also managing the egos, because when you give people a micro, like me, we all like, okay, are you going to listen to me? And this is something you have to deal with. I think we arrived late. When we established the table, the council, the debate on the problems and the positions were very, very polarized. And if someone of you or your cities or the DMOs are thinking of working with communities, please, I yeah, I suggest you do it on time before having the fire. And be patient, because after 8 years, some days I think, oh, what I'm working on, has not solution, this is not bad. Sometimes I think, oh, the light is there, oh, they are having talking, or they invite each other to activity, or, yeah, and it's a long way, but we have done a good way. And also, yeah, for me is important this recognition. When we established the council, the business associations were like very in shock. Oh, what's these people is going to talk about our business? They don't know anything. And they were surprised that they prepare the others, I mean, neighbors and other associations, they prepare very well the questions. They know about the business and about the city. And they had a very strong tradition of participatory issues. Not the business sector, that they have a very long tradition of negotiating with the government, but not be seated with the others. And this, I think it's important they finally recognize that the others are not on this, or share not the same opinion, but they are a legitimate voice. And yeah, about feelings, I think this is important. We have a great observatory of tourism in Barcelona, shared with the municipality, Turisme de Barcelona, the Chamber of Commerce, and the province. We have a lot of data, a lot of research. We sent to the council all these great studies. But finally, feelings are as important as the data. And next steps is, I think, our future is being more strategic, having and also having the capacity to show the members of the council that our work is useful and is positive for the city. And thanks a lot. The power is to the people, and I think with a smartphone, we all have a lot of power, we have this experience, and we have to be aware about that, to be conscious about that. And thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rosa. We are going to have the opportunity of sharing more thoughts and questions during the second panel. So after this panel, there's going to be a roundtable. But now it's time for having Susanna Bernstein on stage. Please, stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to welcome you to my speech today, which is called Mitgestalten statt Motzen. That's German for co-creating instead of grumbling, which is the motto of our Berlin Tourism Citizens Advisory Council. My name is Susanna Bernstein, and I'm the head of destination development at Visit Berlin, and I'm responsible for working with the economic development offices in our 12 Berlin districts, and oversee projects such as accessibility and working with citizens. And we would like to create sustainable urban tourism, which is more citizen-centered. Today, I would like to introduce you to our pilot project, the Berlin Tourism Citizens Advisory Council, which is unique in Germany. And at first, I would like to give you some insights about why we have it. So after many years of growing and successful tourism in Berlin, we launched a new tourism strategy in 2018 to make tourism more sustainable and livable for the cities, the citizens, and also the topic of accessibility is a big, huge thing with us. The establishment of the Citizens Council for tourism is a central measure of our tourism concept 2018, which aims to actively involve our Berlin population to tourism development. The goal is to create acceptance and promote participation by allowing the residents to contribute their views to shaping tourism for Berlin. Although we don't have an over-tourism problem in general in Berlin, there are some places where noticeable tensions between visitors and residents are to be seen. The inauguration of our Tourism Citizen Council was planned for 2020, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, we had to postpone at least 2 years and started at the end of 2022. And we, as it is a pilot project, the 3-year term is still ongoing and will come to an end in November next year. What about the structure? I guess it's a bit too small to see, but maybe the presentation is given to you afterwards. So our council consists of 24 members. They are all citizens and 2 citizens from each district. So we wanted it to be representative for all 12 Berlin districts. To find those members, we had a call for participation, which was advertised throughout the whole city in various media channels. And those who were interested had to submit a small application, a letter of motivation, and we handed them to the economic development offices in the districts, and they were free to choose their representatives. Some drew lots from the applications, but others also decided to have a jury and voted for the representatives. And the decentralized process of selection was intended to get a stronger public or a stronger local anchorship, but it led to challenges in coordination and organization of the actual work of the Tourism Council. The Citizens Advisory Council meets at least 6 times a year in person, but there are still several working groups and online meetings they do outside from the main meetings. And there is one public forum or workshop every year to ensure a broader participation of Berlin's urban society. Every member of the council gets a small allowance of their expenses for every meeting, so they don't just do it for free, but they don't get rich from it either. The council is supported by an independent external agency. I call it Business Office. They do all the structuring. They organize the meetings, the forums, they write protocols, and they are first-hand contact to the council and also to the public. Yes, our main objective was to create a platform for exchange of knowledge and experience, and of course to generate ideas for possible measures to improve tourism in Berlin. For instance, by identifying potential conflicts or recognizing potential for innovation or generating ideas for city-friendly tourism. Our Citizens Advisory Council is a link or an interface between politics, tourism industry, and the city's population. I've also brought a few examples for their successful work this year. They, for instance, initialized a workshop for club owners, politicians, and residents to discuss whether the establishment of clubs and the legendary Berlin nightlife in outer districts, and if this would be successful. They also had a collaboration with the university to investigate e-scooter use in Berlin, and afterwards they discussed the findings with politicians and also with e-scooter operators. They have also been a member to advisory committee which were for a new water tourism concept for Berlin, and they also gave recommendations or ideas for a hotel development plan in Berlin. But of course, there are also challenges. We have heard from Barcelona, and I was thinking like, oh yes, I know what you mean, I feel you. Our Citizens Advisory Council at first was very preoccupied with organizational issues, and they couldn't really focus on real work, so I call it. Then their discussions often are characterized by disagreements, so 24 people to agree is very difficult, and many topics could not be brought to a final conclusion. Also, there was a very high fluctuation during the last month, and we had still an ongoing onboarding process with new members all the time. And some of the members also had difficulties understanding the exact role of a Citizens Advisory Council and the borders, and thus that often led to misunderstandings and a loss of efficiency. But however, it has been shown that a close cooperation with the business office and an increased control of the topics they work on by Visit Berlin and by the Senate of Economics has sincerely increased the efficiency. We have identified weaknesses and improved them at least a bit, because we had a parallel ongoing evaluation by another agency, which was independent, and that really helped a lot to become more efficient. So, I didn't click. So what are our learnings? So in short, not to have a jury for the selection process, to avoid imbalances between the members, some with touristical knowledge, some with no touristical knowledge. It makes discussions really difficult, and so a rather random selection process might be better for the next time. And also it had become clear that providing clear guidelines and topics to work on coming from us or the Senate of Economics is much more helpful and helps really the efficiency to work on. Maybe a mixture of letting them choose their own topics and giving them some would be a good idea. Yes, so to summarize, for me the question remains open if a Citizens Advisory Council is the most efficient format for citizens' participation in tourism for Berlin. Maybe more flexible formats on certain topics could be more efficient. Nevertheless, participation is for us a key factor in developing a sustainable tourism and a citizen-friendly tourism, and we definitely will hold on to that in whatever form. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. For sure, finding flexible formats, it's a challenge for everybody. Please, Csaba Fikes from Budapest brand for the last presentation of the first session.
Thank you very much. So, yes, I'm from Budapest, and I don't know, how many have you been to Budapest? Okay, so quite a few. So Budapest is a city of 2 million people. And despite this fact, when I was a kid, I pretty much grew up like in a village. I was living in a smaller community, and actually my mom keeps telling everyone that when I was a small child, I was going around in the neighborhood, checking in every houses to see what's for lunch, and I had lunch what suited me the best. I'm not sure the story is entirely true, but it's for sure that I had the impression that my childhood was like growing up in a village. This is where I have my real belief in communities, and this is why I really trust, and even in a big city like Budapest, you should rely on the people, you should rely on the community, especially nowadays when tourism had a lot of challenges. So when I became the CEO of Budapest brand, we obviously had a strategy like many European cities, because this is how the heat map of tourists look like. You could obviously see the inner districts of the city was the most crowded. This is what people were visiting. And of course, we wanted to follow a dispersal strategy to make people to actually go and visit every district of the city. This is like the wishful thinking of every city. Is like, yes, we want to have tourists. Yes, we want people to spend money, but please, don't come too many of you, and please go everywhere. Just, don't be a fuss for us. The problem is that this thing, according to what we understood, is not gonna happen. So let's face, these dispersal strategies looks great on paper, but when you go back to reality, these strategies often don't work. So what we see, what we found, there are two ways to make these strategies work. The first one is if you build new attractions. So if you create something really unique, something really spectacular, then obviously people will go to the other districts as well. But if that's not the case, the only resource you have is to rely on the communities and to rely on things what can happen in those other districts. So our strategy is, while we have these, let's say, landscape monuments like the castle, the Danube view, and all these usual stuffs, which we are not going to promote, because we think that mostly these are known. And we think that also we have the National Tourism Board, they make the general country promotion, they will already feature these things. But what we're going to focus on is the local events and the local people. So we decided to build our strategy on them, and the first pillar on this idea was a project what we launched right after COVID. It was called Budapest Bonbon, like the chocolatier. And the idea was that we have 23 districts in Budapest. So Budapest has 23 districts. And in every district, on one weekend of the month, there was this event called Budapest Bonbon, when we paid the musicians, or we paid any sort of performer to go to a pub, a club, wherever, to actually, perform. Like a fine print that it was right after COVID. So it had double goals, because we also wanted to help these restaurants and bars, just get back on track, and we also wanted to create an opportunity for the performers to have a place to play at. But the hidden agenda, what we had, is to build a network, to have a list of communities, have a list of people, have a list of places we can turn to in every district, all around the cities. And the idea was that this initiative gonna live after we, take a step back, and we are not gonna finance the performers. And to be honest, it did not. And yes, it was not as unexpected, because obviously every club has its own agenda, and when the market is going well, they don't need this kind of plannings. But also, what we learned when we were talking to these people, that they had two issues. First, no surprise, money. So they were, when they decided to invite a performer, it was a business decision. If, they can fill the place, they can have enough guests, they're going to invite someone either way. If not, they won't, because, it's a money game at the end. But the other thing was red tape. The know-how of how to organize anything, especially in this case, not talking about club owners, but more about communities. When in many cases, these are just a handful of people who are, have this attitude that I really want to do something, but they have the lack of knowledge. So what we understand that it's obviously on one level a money question, but on the other hand, it's a know-how question. They don't know how to organize events, especially if it happens on a public space, when you obviously need to meet the city regulations, when there are certain rules you need to, keep in mind. And that was something they said, okay, fuck it, I'm not going to do it. And this is what helped us to create the program called Budapest Tuning. And the program itself is a tender, what we launched for any communities who are willing to organize anything on a public space, and on a public park, street, whatsoever. There was one condition they had to meet. They had to find someone they are cooperating with. So we didn't want certain groups to come up with their pet projects no one else is interested in and get public money to do that. But if they could find someone, the local government, another group of people or whatsoever, then they could submit their application for a financial support and for something else, what I'm going to tell you in a second. So we created two groups, one called Grand Circuit, and the other one called the Small Circuit. Obviously, that was like the scope and obviously the financial needs. So when someone was organizing something for an evening, that was obviously, for us it was a big help when we wanted to compare projects. So there were certain criteria they need to meet, and they had to apply to either of the tenders. And by the way, here we did, I think, quite a smart thing, because when whoever applied to these projects, they had to pay an application fee, which was 1% of the money they applied for. We wanted to make these people conscious about the budget, because it was not guaranteed that they're going to win. And okay, I'm applying for 100,000 euros. Fair enough. Then it's time for pay. So it made them to come up with a realistic budget. It made them to come up with conscious planning, and it also gave us some funding. Pretty much, we had the organizational, the budget for organizing the whole application process. That was what it covered. So the process looked like this. We had already the network of people who we could turn to. We also invited people to be member of the judge who were stakeholders, who were opinion leaders among communities who were already active within the city. They had 1 month to come up with their ideas and to team up with someone. Then we created a short list. We took the right or the authority to put the applicants on a short list, because, yes, we didn't want people to go to the inner districts, or we didn't want program what we don't support, for example, like a beer bike tour. This is not something the city would like to see in the streets. So we created a short list, but it wasn't too strict. Just we tried to be reasonable. And then we invited all these people for a 2 days long selection camp, a boot camp, when they could work on their ideas based on the feedback, based on the mentoring we provided them. More importantly, they could team up with each other. So there were some projects which came into during the application process as 2 projects, and at the end they teamed up and they created something together. And more importantly, we also started to foster a community. where people with like-minded, similar mindset could talk to each other, met each other, inspired each other. And we also helped them throughout the 2 days to teach how to organize things. Like in many cases, people didn't have any idea how to put together a budget. Like if you do something, you need to think about who is going to collect the rubbish. That waste management is also an issue. It's not like, okay, how much the band is asking? Okay, 1,000 euro, fine, we're done. No, it's not a project. So because we really wanted them to be professional in that sense, because later on, we want them to create events without the help of us. And once, after this boot camp, they had to present their projects, and the jury made its decision, which was so it was independent from us. We invited people who were prestigious members of the city, startuppers, architects, people who were community organizers. So after creating the shortlist, the city itself was not involved in making the decision that who is going to win or who is not. And then the implementation, when we provided them a long time frame, pretty much when the weather was available, weather was nice enough to have an outdoor event. So they could organize whatever they wanted to. So this is how the whole thing started. And from our side, we kept in mind that it has to be really simple for everyone who is involved in the project. We created a website which was very easy to understand. The language of the website was very, let's say, friendly. We also provided ideas for the people, like, okay, what sort of projects should be favorable, and also some useful tips. So you can see there, like, how does an idea become a project? What are the certain steps do you need to think through? How to submit an application? There were some, like guidance how to do that, and you can see the small track, great track, and this is how this whole thing started. And we also broke down for the people, like, okay, so you have the idea, like a step-by-step guidance how to turn it into reality. And this was something I think very crucial. And also what we did, there is a certain permission you need to get when you do an outdoor event. This is called a traffic authorization permit. Super complex, no one understands. We told them, don't worry, we're gonna take it over and make it for you. So this was also something just to lower the barrier for the people to come and create something. So that was what we gave them in terms of help, in terms of how to make them an expert in organizing anything. And the results are, we really loved the results. So it was communities, people were creating roller skating events. There was a big placemaking event on the Danube shore called Buda Rock Part. And also there were a theater performance on the top of one of the hills. We was in the down. It was a Dante piece, so that's why they were playing with, like, one was in the down and the other one in dusk. Street art. And also we also supported a religious pilgrim. So we really wanted to keep it diverse. We really wanted to reach out to groups who are not the usual suspects in these kind of programs. So that's Budapest Tuning. I'm really happy to answer any questions. And just let me show you a brief film about the projects which were awarded.
Milyen lenne diszkózni a Sirály sétányon? Görkoriban. Milyen lenne belassulni a Duna tempójára? Milyen lenne, ha a Bikás Parkban összecsapnának a rapperek? Mármint lirikusan. Egy koncert a parkolóban? Színház a Gellért hegyen? Lézerpárbaj tűzfalakon? Home office a Pápa Parkban? Tangó a Teleki téren? Baba-mama piknik? Klasszikusan? Ütős graffitik Szemere telepen? Ilyen az a Budapest, amit te formálsz. Dobd be az ötletedet a budapesttuning.hu oldalon, mi pedig segítünk megvalósítani. Budapest Tuning. Töltsd meg a várost az ötleteddel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Csaba. It's really an amazing project. I personally fell in love with the first time I met it. So we have seen different shapes of democracy in this first panel. We are going to meet again in 10 minutes with all our speakers on stage to further discuss what you have seen in the panel 1. So see you at noon again, the same group, the same new questions to ask. Thank you. See you in 10 minutes.